Effective public relations efforts meet three tests. The message must be believable, persuasive, and actionable. Chapter 5 deals with how to create a persuasive public relations message using these three concepts. First, this chapter addresses basic ways to persuade the public to change its opinion on an issue. Then the text describes change leaders, and it discusses effective strategies. Several factors describe effective persuasive approaches, and other factors describe techniques used to change public perception. Principles of learning are relevant to persuasion theories, and the diffusion process describes how ideas spread through the public. Newsom described four basic concepts for influencing people. First, people will accept a new concept more readily if it improves their lives. Second, people are action oriented, so they respond better to concepts that have suggested a way to solve the problem. Third, the reputation of the spokesperson rubs off on the message. Credible spokespersons are more believable than an anonymous voice or an unknown actor. And fourth, people don't like double talk and jargon. Short, simple explanations are much more persuasive than long messages filled with vague assurances. People look for leadership when they are pressured to change their attitudes. One source of leadership are activists who use publicity to promote a point of view. Another kind of leaders are admired public figures. Often show business celebrities try to step into these shoes with mixed results. To be effective, the public must think that the celebrity is credible on that specific issue. If an actor talks about an emotional issue like animal cruelty, people usually will accept them as believable. But when they lecture about the need for a treaty to increase free trade or some other complex issue, the public generally will ignore them because they're not credible about the issue. Political or business leaders often lead change in public opinion, especially if they have the power to take actions in regard to the issue. Then the PR effort is to get the public to accept their decision, which is easier than trying to get the public to make a decision. There are several different persuasion techniques. One strategy is to stimulate the public through publicity and promotions in order to change their attitudes. The anti-smoking campaign is one of the best examples of this approach. PSAs, medical reports, news articles, government reports, and changes in the laws all combine to stimulate the public to change their opinion of smoking. The cognitive strategy is to present facts as to why people should change their opinions. This approach works better with scientific issues, such as climate change. It is much less effective in highly emotional issues like gun control. Another strategy is to explain the benefits of a change in public opinion. For example, the public is constantly bombarded with messages about the benefits of exercise and weight control. Some public relations campaigns merely call attention to a social problem with the simple implicit appeal that it should change. For example, the Humane Society regularly runs ads about abused animals, which implies that the public should donate money to them to solve the problem. Public campaigns to stop some actions often try to make the targeted behavior socially unacceptable. For example, PETA uses public relations in an attempt to convince the public that they should disapprove of people who wear fur coats. There are several potential problems to avoid when trying to persuade the public. First, it is very difficult to convince people to accept an opinion that is contrary to their personal values. This principle is called cognitive dissonance. For example, many people have religious objections to gay marriage. The elaboration likelihood divides the public into two categories: the interested group that looks for facts about an issue, and the peripheral group, which is not paying close attention to the issue, so their opinions are most affected by emotional appeals. Another consideration is that the source of the publicity must be considered to be credible by the public. That is why appeals by celebrities often fall flat. Show business stars may have credibility on emotional issues such as gay marriage, but when they offer opinions on complex issues like national energy policy, the public basically tunes them out. There are no magic moments in public relations where a single message results in a big change in public opinion. Instead, public opinions usually change gradually over time in response to repeated messages through a variety of media. However, the series of messages must all say the same thing. When there are different messages about an issue, they tend to cancel each other out. For example, the message to encourage home ownership offers contradictory reasons. Some point out the growth in the value of the home, while others encourage people to renovate the home in order to maintain the value. Which is true? Do home values rise over time, or do homeowners have to spend money to keep the value up? Seeing is believing, especially when the public is uncertain about their opinion on the issue. Videos are especially persuasive in times of uncertainty, especially when the issue excites strong emotions. On the other hand, complex issues are better explained through factual written messages like newspaper articles. When the public identifies with the source of the message, the source is more credible. This is especially true with spokespersons. If the public think that the spokesperson is one of them, they tend to believe the spokesperson. However, the message is not credible if the targeted public perceives the spokesperson as belonging to another group, like a wealthy woman giving child rearing advice, but she has a nanny to take care of her own children. Symbols are especially powerful in emotional issues. The symbol may be an image, like the American flag, or it may be a person, such as Nelson Mandela, who serves as a symbol of racial justice. Even events can serve as symbols, such as the Hurricane Katrina damage of New Orleans as a symbol of government incompetence. Stereotypes are also used in public relation messages, especially in propaganda. For example, after the 2006 banking crisis, bankers were portrayed in the media as heartless, greedy individuals. One company still runs a commercial about refinancing home loans that uses a stereotypical greedy banker. The actor is overweight, just in case the reader doesn't get the message about fat cat bankers. Peer pressure is a powerful persuader because friends, family, and coworkers have much more influence on people than the media does. For example, the anti-violence public relation campaign tries to convince kids to disapprove of bullying behavior by others. Social learning theory is similar to that of peer pressure, but it extends the concept to everybody rather than just family and friends. The idea is to get everybody to disapprove of a behavior so that even a complete stranger will express their dislike for a behavior, such as spanking children. Public relations is about changing public opinion, which means that the public must learn something new. One contribution from theories of learning is that good and bad behaviors are learned equally well. For example, the public has learned to fasten seat belts, but they have also learned to text while driving. Another finding is that public relation campaigns take time to affect public opinions. The message must be repeated through a variety of media in order to be effective in changing public opinion. Public relations messages that stand out as different tend to have more effect. People remember creative messages that use surprise or humor to convey the concept. For example, PETA's "I'd rather be naked than wear fur" public relations campaign sticks in people's minds, even if they disagree with the content of the message. It is very difficult to create a message that people remember. For example, people recall the commercial that showed a handsome man saying, "Look at me, now look at your man, now look back at me," while the scene changes around him. Many people recall the ad campaign, but they can't remember what the product was. Even if they recognize the ad when it plays on the screen, eventually perhaps the message will sink in and they will know that it's an Old Spice commercial. People accept the message much more easily if the results are self-evident. For example, people know that tight jeans are hard to get into, so people relate to the commercial that shows women easily pulling on their jeans after eating the ad's product as part of a healthy diet. People know diets are necessary to lose weight, so the message is effective. Repeated messages are much more effective for emotional issues than for complex issues. For example, the TV keeps showing the "I've fallen and can't get up" commercial for emergency signaling services because they appeal to the emotional issue of keeping elderly parents safe. But factual commercials, such as those for automobiles that talk about gas mileage and other features, don't run as often because a new commercial quickly replaces it. Completely new behaviors, like using the thumb to work cell phones, are easier to learn than changing old behaviors like coughing into your elbow instead of covering your mouth with your hand. Another principle of learning is that a new message can drown out an old message. For example, the publicity campaign to reduce fat in one's diet interferes with the old public relations message that it's good to drink milk for calcium and vitamin D. People don't know which one to believe. There is a process to convince the public to change its collective opinion. First, general publicity raises awareness of the issue, such as distracted driving caused by cell phones. Then PSAs provide facts, such as the results of tests that show that distracted driving is as dangerous as drunk driving. People think about the issue, talk about it, and listen to TV hosts who talk about it. They consider alternatives, such as hands-free cell phones. Then people begin to adopt hand-free cell phones and voice recognition software, which has appeared on smartphones. Some car manufacturers even incorporate hand-free cell phone techniques as a car feature. Many people continue to use hands-on free cell phones, and they have even begun to take them for granted. As in all public relations, the most essential element is honesty. The three fundamental principles of effective public relations are that messages must be believable, persuasive, and actionable. The term believable comes first, because a message must be credible before people will even listen to it. The second term is persuasive, because the essence of public relations is to change public opinion. People who are focused on the issue need facts in order to change their opinion. But other people are only vaguely aware of the issue, and this peripheral group is most affected by emotional appeals. The point is that it takes time to change public opinion. Members of the group that is not engaged by the issue often becomes interested after time, after they have received some of the emotional appeals. Then they become receptive to factual messages that may persuade them to change their mind. It takes people to convince other people to change their minds. Opinion leaders are people who are respected by the public so they can influence the public to change their opinions. But the spokesperson must be believable in regards to the issue. A movie star might be credible when discussing new fashions, and a scientist might be credible when discussing environmental concerns, but neither will be credible in a discussion of an issue on which they have no expertise. The messages sent through multiple channels over a period of time must be consistent in order to be effective. If one message says sunlight is good for you because it creates vitamin D, while another message says sunlight is harmful because it causes cancer, the two messages will cancel each other out. Once is not enough. Messages must be repeated over a period of time in order to have an effect. This is why public relations professionals speak of campaigns rather than just one-time events.